If you're over 50 and you've been told that heart disease is just part of getting older, I need you to stop right there because that's one of the most dangerous myths in modern medicine. Your heart at 50, 60, or 70 can actually be stronger than it was in your 30s if you feed it the right way. And today I'm walking you through 7 specific foods that the latest cardiovascular research shows can reverse arterial aging, drop your biological heart age by years, and significantly extend both your lifespan and your quality of life. I'm talking about foods that reduce inflammation at the cellular level, stabilize your blood pressure without additional medication, and protect you from the silent killers that take too many people in our age group without warning. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you'll have a clear science-backed nutrition plan that works with your body's natural changes after 50, not against them. Let me start by leveling with you about what's really happening inside your cardiovascular system right now. After age 50, your blood vessels naturally lose some elasticity, your body processes cholesterol differently, inflammation tends to run higher, and your cells don't repair oxidative damage quite as efficiently as they used to. That's not a defect, that's just biology. But here's what most doctors won't tell you in a 10-minute appointment. Nutrition becomes more powerful after 50, not less, because your body is now hyper-responsive to anti-inflammatory compounds, antioxidants, and specific nutrients that directly communicate with your cardiovascular system. The problem is that most people over 50 are eating the exact opposite of what their heart needs, loading up on processed foods that accelerate arterial aging, skipping the nutrients that repair endothelial function, and falling for marketing myths about heart-healthy foods that are anything but. The biggest mistake I see in my practice is people thinking that eating for heart health means bland, boring, restrictive diets that eliminate everything enjoyable. That's completely backwards. The 7 foods I'm sharing today are delicious, accessible, and scientifically proven to work specifically for the 50-plus cardiovascular system. Another critical error is assuming that if you're on a statin or blood pressure medication, food doesn't matter anymore. Wrong. Nutrition works synergistically with your medications, often allowing you to reduce doses over time under medical supervision, and in some cases preventing the need for additional drugs altogether. And here's the red flag I need you to understand before we go further. If you experience sudden chest pressure, pain radiating to your jaw or left arm, severe shortness of breath, or unexplained sweating and nausea, you call emergency services immediately. Do not wait, do not try to treat it with food, do not convince yourself it's just indigestion. What I'm teaching you today is prevention and optimization, not emergency intervention. Let's talk about the first food, and this one surprises most people. Fatty fish, specifically wild-caught salmon, mackerel, sardines, and anchovies. After 50, your body's inflammatory response tends to stay elevated, and chronic inflammation is the root cause of atherosclerosis, the hardening and narrowing of your arteries that leads to heart attacks and strokes. Omega-3 fatty acids, particularly EPA and DHA found in fatty fish, are the most potent natural anti-inflammatory compounds we know of, and they work by actually changing the way your cell membranes function, making them more fluid and responsive. Studies show that people over 50 who eat fatty fish 3 times per week reduce their risk of fatal heart attack by 43% compared to those who rarely eat fish. That's better than most medications. Here's how to do this safely and practically. Start with 3 portions per week, each about the size of your palm, roughly 4 ounces. If you're on blood thinners like warfarin, you need to keep your fish intake consistent week to week because omega-3s can slightly affect clotting, so talk to your doctor about your plan. Don't just wing it. If you can't stand fish or have access issues, a high-quality fish oil supplement providing at least 1,000 milligrams of combined EPA and DHA daily is a reasonable alternative, but always choose brands that test for mercury and heavy metals. The microaction here is simple. Pick one day this week, buy a piece of wild salmon, season it with lemon and herbs, bake it at 375 for 15 minutes, and you've just given your heart one of the most powerful tools it needs. The second food is something you probably already have in your kitchen, but you're not eating nearly enough of: leafy greens, especially spinach, kale, Swiss chard, and arugula. After 50, your blood pressure regulation changes because your blood vessels stiffen and your kidneys process sodium less efficiently. Leafy greens are loaded with dietary nitrates that your body converts into nitric oxide, a molecule that relaxes and dilates your blood vessels, lowering blood pressure naturally and improving blood flow to every organ, including your brain and heart. A study published in the European Journal of Epidemiology found that people who ate just 1 cup of leafy greens daily reduced their cardiovascular disease risk by 26%. 1 cup. That's it. The practical approach for 50 plus is to add greens to meals you already eat, rather than trying to build entirely new habits. Throw a handful of spinach into your morning eggs. Blend kale into a fruit smoothie where you won't even taste it, or make a simple side salad with arugula, olive oil, and balsamic vinegar for dinner. If you're on blood thinners, particularly warfarin, you need to keep your green leafy vegetable intake consistent because they contain vitamin K, which affects how the medication works. But that doesn't mean avoid them. It means eat them regularly and let your doctor adjust your dose accordingly. If you have kidney disease, talk to your nephrologist before dramatically increasing greens because of potassium content. The micro-action. Tonight, add 1 handful of any leafy green to whatever you're having for dinner. Just 1 handful. That's your starting point. Food number 3 is nuts, particularly walnuts and almonds, and this is where we debunk a huge myth. For years, people avoided nuts because of their calorie and fat content, but we now know that the type of fat matters infinitely more than the total amount, and nuts contain polyunsaturated and monounsaturated fats that actively lower LDL cholesterol and reduce arterial inflammation. The Nurses' Health Study followed over 76,000 women and found that those who ate nuts 5 or more times per week had a 35% lower risk of heart disease, lower risk of coronary heart disease compared to those who rarely ate them. Walnuts are particularly powerful after 50 because they're the only nut with significant amounts of alpha-linolenic acid, a plant-based omega-3 that supports heart rhythm stability. Here's the practical protocol. 1 ounce daily, which is about a small handful or roughly 23 almonds or 14 walnut halves. Eat them raw or dry roasted. Never honey roasted or salted, because that adds sugar and sodium that counteract the benefits. If you have diverticulitis, the old advice to avoid nuts is now considered outdated by most gastroenterologists, but check with your own doctor. If you have difficulty chewing or swallowing, which becomes more common after 50, you can use nut butters. Just make sure they're natural with no added oils or sugars. The ingredient list should say only nuts and maybe salt. The micro-action. Buy a bag of raw walnuts this week, portion them into small containers, 1 ounce each, and keep one in your bag or car for a mid-afternoon snack instead of whatever processed food you'd normally reach for. The 4th food is berries, all of them, but especially blueberries, strawberries, and blackberries, and here's why they're essential after 50. Your body accumulates oxidative stress over decades, which damages the endothelium, the delicate inner lining of your blood vessels, and that damage is a primary trigger for atherosclerosis. Berries contain anthocyanins and flavonoids, powerful antioxidants that neutralize free radicals and actually repair endothelial function. A Harvard study, tracking over 93,000 women, found that those who ate 3 or more servings of berries per week reduced their heart attack risk by 32%. That's a massive effect from something as simple as fruit. The key for 50 plus is to eat berries regularly, not occasionally, because the protective compounds work cumulatively. Aim for at least 3 servings per week, where 1 serving is about 3/4 of a cup. Buy them frozen if fresh is too expensive or spoils too quickly. Frozen berries are flash frozen at peak ripeness and retain all their nutrients. Add them to morning oatmeal, blend them into smoothies, or eat them plain as a dessert. If you are managing blood sugar or have type 2 diabetes, you can still eat berries because their fiber content slows sugar absorption, but pair them with a protein like Greek yogurt or nuts to further stabilize your glucose response. The micro-action. Put frozen blueberries on your shopping list right now, and tomorrow morning, add half a cup to whatever you normally eat for breakfast. Food number 5 is extra virgin olive oil, and this is one of the most researched heart protective foods in human history. After 50, your cholesterol profile often shifts unfavorably, with LDL going up and HDL going down, and systemic inflammation increases. Extra virgin olive oil contains oleic acid and polyphenols that lower LDL cholesterol, raise HDL cholesterol, reduce inflammation, and improve insulin sensitivity. The PREDIMED study, one of the largest nutrition trials ever conducted, showed that people following a Mediterranean diet with extra virgin olive oil reduced major cardiovascular events by 30%. 30%. That's comparable to many cardiac medications. Here's the practical approach. Use extra virgin olive oil as your primary cooking fat and salad dressing, aiming for about 2 to 3 tablespoons daily. The key words are extra virgin because that means it's minimally processed and retains the polyphenols. Regular olive oil or light olive oil has been refined and lost most of the beneficial compounds. Use it for low to medium heat cooking, drizzle it over vegetables, mix it with balsamic vinegar for salads, or even take a tablespoon straight if you're committed. If you're watching calories because you need to lose weight for heart health, remember that fat doesn't make you fat. Excess calories do, so use olive oil but reduce processed carbohydrates and sugars, which are the real problem. The micro action. Check your kitchen right now. If you don't have extra virgin olive oil, buy a bottle this week and replace whatever oil you currently use for cooking. The sixth food is legumes, including beans, lentils, and chickpeas, and this is where we address a major gap in most 50-plus diets. Fiber. After 50, your digestive system slows down, your cholesterol regulation becomes less efficient, and your blood sugar control often declines. Legumes are fiber powerhouses that bind to cholesterol in your digestive tract and remove it before it's absorbed, stabilize blood sugar by slowing carbohydrate digestion, and feed beneficial gut bacteria that produce short-chain fatty acids, which reduce inflammation. Research shows that eating legumes 4 times per week reduces cardiovascular disease risk by 22%. The challenge for many people over 50 is that suddenly adding lots of beans causes gas and bloating. So here's the safe protocol. Start with small amounts, maybe a quarter cup added to a soup or salad, 3 times per week, and gradually increase over several weeks as your gut bacteria adapt. Rinse canned beans thoroughly to remove excess sodium and some of the gas-producing compounds. Cook dried beans with a strip of kombu seaweed, which contains enzymes that break down those compounds. If you have chronic kidney disease, you need to work with a dietitian because legumes contain potassium and phosphorus that you may need to limit. If you take diabetes medication, monitor your blood sugar as you add legumes because they can lower it, which is good, but may require medication adjustment. The microaction. This week, buy 1 can of low-sodium black beans, rinse them well, and add a quarter cup to a salad or scrambled eggs. The seventh and final food is dark chocolate, and yes, I'm serious, but there are critical details here. After 50, your blood pressure tends to rise and your blood vessels lose flexibility. Dark chocolate with at least 70% cocoa contains flavanols that improve endothelial function, lower blood pressure, and reduce platelet aggregation, meaning your blood is less likely to form dangerous clots. A meta-analysis of multiple studies found that regular dark chocolate consumption reduced cardiovascular events by 37% in high-risk populations. The key is dark chocolate, at least 70% cocoa, not milk chocolate, which is mostly sugar and fat with minimal cocoa. The dose that shows benefit is about 1 ounce daily, which is roughly 3 small squares. Eat it after a meal to minimize blood sugar spikes, and choose brands with minimal added sugar. If you're managing diabetes, this still works, but account for the carbohydrates in your daily total and check your glucose response. If you're sensitive to caffeine, eat your chocolate earlier in the day, because it contains small amounts that might affect sleep. The microaction. Buy 1 bar of 75 or 80% dark chocolate this week. Break it into individual servings, and have 1 small piece after dinner as your new dessert. Now let me give you a simple daily checklist that combines all 7 foods into a realistic 50-plus eating pattern. For breakfast, have oatmeal with berries and a handful of walnuts, or eggs with spinach and a slice of whole grain toast drizzled with olive oil. Mid-morning, if you need a snack, have a few almonds. For lunch, make a big salad with leafy greens, chickpeas, olive oil dressing, and maybe some canned sardines if you're adventurous. Afternoon snack, a few squares of dark chocolate with some berries. For dinner, have grilled salmon with roasted vegetables cooked in olive oil and a side of lentil soup. That's all 7 foods in one day. It's delicious, it's satisfying, and it's giving your cardiovascular system exactly what it needs to thrive after 50. You don't need to be perfect every single day, but if you can hit 5 or 6 of these foods most days, you're in the top tier of heart protective nutrition. Here are the red flags you need to watch for, and I cannot stress this enough. If you experience chest pain or pressure, especially with exertion, pain in your jaw, neck, or left arm, sudden severe shortness of breath, irregular heartbeat that feels like fluttering or racing, dizziness with chest discomfort, or unexplained profound fatigue, you seek immediate medical attention. Do not drive yourself, call emergency services. These foods are preventive and supportive, they are not treatment for acute cardiac events. Also, if you're currently taking medications for blood pressure, cholesterol, diabetes, or blood thinning, do not stop or change your doses without medical supervision. The goal is to add these foods while working with your doctor, and over time you may find you need less medication, but that's a conversation with your physician, not a decision you make alone. Let me also address medication interactions because this matters after 50 when many of you are on multiple prescriptions. If you're on warfarin, keep your leafy green intake consistent. If you're on blood pressure medication, adding these foods may lower your pressure further, which is good, but monitor it at home and let your doctor know if you're getting readings below 100/60 or feeling lightheaded. If you're on statins, omega-3s, and these foods work beautifully alongside them, enhancing their effect. If you're on diabetes medication, the fiber and healthy fats will improve your blood sugar control, but check your glucose regularly and report patterns to your doctor, because you may need dose reductions. One more critical point for the 50-plus audience. Many of you are also thinking about brain health, bone health, and cancer prevention. And here's the beautiful thing about these 7 foods. They're not just heart-specific. The same anti-inflammatory and antioxidant properties that protect your cardiovascular system also reduce dementia risk. The omega-3s support cognitive function. The calcium and vitamin K in leafy greens support bone density, and the phytonutrients in berries have documented anti-cancer properties. You're not just eating for your heart, you're eating for total body longevity and quality of life. So here's what I want you to do right now. First, screenshot or write down these 7 foods: fatty fish, leafy greens, nuts, berries, extra virgin olive oil, legumes, and dark chocolate. Second, pick just 2 of them to start with this week. Don't try to overhaul everything at once because that leads to overwhelm and quitting. Third, schedule a follow-up with your primary care doctor in the next month. Bring this list and say you want to discuss how these foods fit with your current medications and health conditions. That's taking responsibility for your longevity in a smart, medically sound way. If you found this valuable, do me a favor and subscribe to this channel because I'm releasing a follow-up video next week on the 5 worst foods for your heart after 50. The ones hiding in your kitchen right now that are silently destroying your cardiovascular system. And you need to know what they are. Also drop a comment and tell me which of these 7 foods you're committing to starting with. I read every single comment and I'm here to support your journey. Remember, this is educational information based on current medical evidence, but it does not replace personalized medical care. Your individual health status, medications, allergies, and conditions require evaluation by your own healthcare provider. Use this as a starting point for conversation with your doctor, not as a substitute for professional medical advice. Your heart at 50, 60, 70, or beyond is not a lost cause. It's an incredible organ that responds to the right inputs, and food is the most powerful input you control 3 times every day. You now have the specific roadmap, the science behind it, and the practical steps to make it happen. The only question left is whether you'll take action. And I believe you will because you're still here. You watched to the end. And that tells me you're serious about your health and your future. Let's make the next chapter of your life the healthiest one yet, starting with what you put on your plate today.